You all know Superman. He's the greatest superhero of all time. And considering his stature, the hero inspired several who take his archetype, but in a darker way. We have Hancock, Brightburn, or even the Plutonian. But the most popular are clearly the Homelander and OMNI-MAN, two characters who appeared in successful Prime Video series, The Boys and Invincible, so popular that there is a lot of power debate on their account, to the point that one of the creators gave his opinion. And today we're here to have fun, so the video is going to be a little stupid, but very fun. We're going to see who is stronger between OMNI-MAN, the Homelander, and Superman. Well, to make it as simple as possible, we're going to take different media for the characters. For the Homelander, it will mainly be the series, as well as a little bit of comics. Concerning OMNI-MAN, it will be the series and the comics. And finally, Superman, you'll see, it will be quite different. So Superman, everyone knows him. He's Krypton's last son. His planet exploded and he landed on Earth in Smallville, where he was raised by the Kents. Later, he discovers his powers and will use them to defend truth and justice for a better tomorrow. All his powers, he has them thanks to a yellow sun. And if he has had many very weird powers over time and authors, his most basic powers are super strength, super resistance, super speed, flight, improved senses, a mixed vision and thermals, but also a glacial breath. But he still remains vulnerable, especially to magic and kryptonite. Superman has many incarnations throughout history, some of which are good and others more evil, like that of Injustice, for example. But we didn't have to wait for Injustice to see other evil versions, like for example Homelander. If he seems to be a superhero boy scout, very nice, who will do everything for people, like you are the real heroes, well, that's bullshit. In reality, he's a sociopath, manipulator, arrogant, and above all, very cruel. And that's with everyone, and it's even worse for those who, according to him, are not good, like disabled people or bisexuals. No, really, he's an asshole. In its original story, we make the public believe that he is a model American citizen, but in fact, it's just propaganda. In the end, it's just a product. He was born in a test tube in the labs of Vought, but he is no less than the most powerful of the boys. Super strength, super speed, impenetrable skin, no acres, and thermal vision. Almost nothing resists him. In the comics, however, he has two more things. If he shouts, he can make the tympans explode, and he has a much greater resistance than in the series. And yes, in view of the resistance of his clone, we can assume that he is really hard to kill, since the latter could even fight when he was in a state closer to the corpse than the living. And finally, I will be able to talk about my little puppy, OMNI-MAN. He is a vulture myth. He was sent by his planet so that he can help Earth. He will meet Debbie, who will be his wife, and he will have a son with her. Mark Grayson, who will be the future invincible hero. He will be called Nolan, and he will even be friends with the Guardians of the Globe, the greatest heroes on Earth. A good story like Superman, except that unfortunately, the truth is much darker. As soon as his son obtained his powers, he put his plan into action. OMNI-MAN killed all the Guardians of the Globe in order to weaken the Earth so that the vulture myths could conquer it without problems. And yes, the vulture myths are not the benevolent race we thought. They are real monsters. They massacred each other so that only the strongest could survive, and they colonized the planets by force. There, it's really a mix between the Scions and the Kryptonians. Nolan may not be the most powerful character in the series, but he easily enters the top 5. He is even the top 1 at times. Like Homelander and Superman, he has superhuman strength, super speed, and very high resistance. However, he has some differences with the other two. First, he has no laser. Then his flight ability is linked to his inner ear, and he is also much more difficult to kill. We saw it with Mark or other vulture myths, who despite being injured will still continue the fight. The only way to truly kill a vulture myth is to explode his head or damage his heart. And finally, the vulture myths have an extremely increased longevity, but to the point where it's delusional. Besides, the Scions don't live very long. Yes, because it doesn't look like it, but OMNI-MAN still has more than 2,000 years from the beginning of history, so he has a lot of experience. But anyway, come on, let's play a little game. Now write in the comments, without cheating, who according to you is the strongest of the three? I think it will be funny. Besides, I advise you to subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, the Homelander will make a surprise attack on you to taste the milk in your fridge. Subscribing is the only possible protection against him. Well, unfortunately, if you think the Homelander is the strongest of the three, I think you are already part of a minority because for once, he really has no chance. Whether against Superman or OMNI-MAN, already concerning Superman, the Man of Steel has much more strength in this, whatever the medium. He is much more enduring, and he has faced many more big enemies compared to Homelander. So, okay, he is superior to Soldier Boy, Queen Maeve, and Butcher taken individually. You have to put the three together for them to be of the same level. But in reality, they are not Giga Destroyers. At most, they can destroy one or more buildings, but not more. While Superman, he constantly faces threats that can destroy cities or that threaten the planet. We are not at all on the same scale. Then on the side of power, Superman has more. And even in terms of thermal vision, the Man of Steel has greater mastery and greater firepower. Being able to destroy doomsday clones or destroy things on a microscopic scale, is not a problem for him. So yes, Homelander has some control with his thermal vision, and it looks extremely deadly. But at the same time, it does not surprise me since he smokes humans every time. It's like I was lying to myself to crush ants, while in reality, at most, he can smoke a plane, and that's all. His thermal vision also has limits, and we can see that in the series since he was unable to pierce Queen Maeve's bracelet and Soldier Boy's shield. So whatever the version of Superman, poor Homelander has no chance. Although I'm a little mean, he could smoke Clark Kent if he was a baby, or his version of the New 52 when he has almost no power. And if Omni-Man faced Homelander, there it's the same. And there it's clearly the same nuclear bomb against newborns. Already physically, Omni-Man is superior in every way. He was able to stop and push back an asteroid the size of Texas, and he is so fast that he can destroy a civilization with his speed. The guy still moves at the speed of light, his punches break mountains, and he is ultra-resistant, and he can survive crazy things. To such an extent that the only way he found to try to kill himself is to go into a black hole. The only advantage that Homelander can have on the Vitromet is his laser and more. Nolan is very resistant to heat. He tanked a supreme attack that could vaporize humans in an instant, and the blade does nothing to his mustache. He should be thrown directly into the sun so that he can die a little. And since the thermal vision of Homelander cannot melt neither Maeve's bracelet nor the shield of Soldier Boy, it's not possible. And even if we take his version of the comic, which can make explosions, and explosions which can be very useful to disrupt Omni-Man's flight capacity, it is very long and strong enough to destroy him. To tell you the difference, Death Battle made an episode where you have to fight both, and it's one of the death battles where there was no debate, while very often it was mixed. Everyone agreed to say that the fight was rushed and that Homelander was going to get his ass kicked. And well, he is so hateful that even the fans of The Boys were for Omni-Man. For the hero of the Seven, it was the fight of his life, while for the Vulture myth, it was a Thursday. The guys of Death Battle even showed the difference. They said he was 7 billion times faster and 60 billion times more powerful. And in truth, it's not really surprising that Homelander was going to get his ass kicked. Already, he doesn't really know how to fight. Since he always had the advantage, he often tends to panic and do shit when the situation is out of control. And on top of that, he has never exceeded against opponents stronger than him. If he can do what he wants, it's because he knows that he is the strongest being in the world. For him, real life is GTA. But if he met other heroes, he would get his ass kicked. And speaking of experts, I'm 100% sure that if we had the Homelander against the world champion, he would get destroyed. So my guy, don't be too cocky with your messy posture. There are a lot of guys who will kill you in Mortal Kombat when you come. And in my opinion, Omni-Man will be the first to have fun with you. Well, now that I told you that the Homelander is a giga fraud, it's time to see the real debate. Omni-Man against Superman, and for once, both are very impressive. In real life, the Homelander can be stronger than this Superman version, and I'm not talking about the Wish version, for example. Omni-Man clearly has his chances against the DCU, which is very strong compared to the Justice League, but which has never done things as impressive as Omni-Man. Like Nolan can potentially destroy the world, by the way. That's what created an alternative version of the Vulture myth in the series. In addition, the Homelander is much more violent and has more experience. And if we want to go into the animation side, I also think that Nolan can smoke the animation movies, which didn't do much incredible. Okay, in live-action movies and animation movies, there is a fight against Doomsday, but in Invincible, there is a thing called Conquest. And I think it can be explained since the fights in Invincible are much more impressive in terms of stakes and destruction compared to the DCU or the animation movies. I'm not saying that the fight between Superman and the 2H team is bad, but when we see the ravages Omni-Man can do, there is a big difference. I would also say that Omni-Man is more or less equal to the Superman of the 6 games. So not his version with a yellow fear anode, but the base version. There, it could be a good fight. However, if we take the characters in their base medium, the comics, the fight is very far from being in favor of the Vulture myth. I've often said it, the Superman of the comics is really too powerful, and he is light years above Nolan. The craziest thing Omni-Man destroyed is a planet, okay? But he didn't do it alone. He needed the help of 2 other Vulture myths, and in addition, the core was weakened by one of Space Racer's lasers. Meanwhile, the Man of Steel destroyed several planets alone. The guy, if he exchanges blows with another version of himself, breaks realities. The Vulture myth can die in the sun, while Superman becomes even stronger. No, really, there is too much difference. And no matter which version we are talking about, pre-Crisis, post-Crisis, New 52, or Rebirth, Omni-Man has no chance against the Man of Steel. I have already talked about power scaling, but I will simply tell you why Superman is stronger than Omni-Man, who is himself stronger than the Homelander. And this has to do with the construction of the work in the universe. In The Boys, superheroes are not the protagonists. No, this role is attributed to the Boys team. Humans who fight superheroes who are too dangerous and who abuse their function. There, it is great power, but no responsibility. The goal of the work is not to show us insane battles. At most, they blow up a building or there is a massacre in a school. The Boys is a satire of superheroes and society, showing what would happen if heroes existed in real life. Invincible is different. It creates its own universe, based on Marvel and DC. Typically, Invincible is a little bit Spider-Man, and the Vulture myth is a little bit Kryptonian. It mainly picks up the codes of comics, recurring enemies, crossovers, reboots, and also alternative universes. De facto, the universe is bigger, and the simple fact of showing space and other planets adds stakes, and therefore a bigger power gap. Honestly, a single true might soldier would be enough to create a carnage on Earth. We have Dantesque fights and sometimes cosmic stuff, but since the main threat rests on the true mights, we stay on a galactic scale. Meanwhile, the DC universe is really much bigger. It is not rare that cosmic entities are threats for the heroes, and that they must take care of them. You don't see that too much in the movies, but Brainiac or Parallax, for example, are terribly dangerous. And on top of that, they deal with beings that can destroy one or more universes regularly, which gives rise to multiversal wars and nightmares like the Anti-Monitor, Barbatos, or even Perpetua. In addition, Superman benefited from many authors who wrote him and who extended his powers considerably, including non-pharaonic feats. After all, there is a question we can ask. Why do people who worked on Invincible or The Boys say that their characters could beat Superman? 3 things. 1. Either they don't care about power scaling, and honestly, I understand it's a bit stupid. I really do it for fun. 2. Either they have in mind the Superman of the movies, who isn't that impressive. 3. Or they say it because it promotes their work. Indeed, the showrunner of The Boys has no interest in saying his character is weaker than Superman. Same for Barklovman. At worst, it gets people talking on social networks. After that, the question is a bit stupid. You can ask many other questions about the universe, the story, the stakes, how it was created. But some people say, hey, is Superman stronger than Mantle? In truth, I think the guy doesn't care. Okay, Robert Kirkman does power scaling in his universe, but it was mostly to show the danger of enemies and Mark's evolution in the show. Again, it's only for fun and it harms no one. But anyway, here is a more interesting question. Who is your favorite character among the 3? Personally, I love OMNI-MAN. He surprised me both in terms of violence and in his writing, and he has a very interesting arc of redemption. I'll let you tell me in the comments. Subscribe. See you next time. Ciao.